The reason why a lot of people in the diaspora are deciding to go back home to Zimbabwe or their home countries is because they're just tired. Now, if you're one of those people that came to the UK, like me, in 2001, 2002, or maybe even 2003, you'll find that at first it was very exciting. Yes, you're in the UK, it's a new place, everything is different, everything is working okay. And even the working was okay because we had energy, we were young. But when you approach your 40s, 42, 43, 44, 45, and you start to look ahead and say to yourself, okay, I'm going to be retiring in about, say, 20 odd years. This is where now the reality kicks in. Because do you really want to retire in a country where you're just surrounded by just expensive things, especially the bills?
Ever find yourself thinking about, a different pace of life as you get older? Maybe less hustle, more something else. It's pretty common, I think. That feeling that maybe your priorities are shifting.
Yeah, exactly. And today we're looking at a really fascinating example of this playing out. We're diving into why some Zimbabweans who moved to the UK, often years ago, are now deciding to return home.
Okay, so what's guiding our look into this?
Well, our main source is a YouTube video. It's called Why Many Zimbabweans Leaving the UK from the Rua Organic channel. And it gives a really personal, sort of ground-level perspective on these decisions.
Right, and I think this is relevant for anyone listening who's curious about different life paths or global trends. Maybe you've lived abroad yourself, or you're just interested in what makes people tick, what drives these big life changes.
It really touches on big themes, doesn't it? Community, well-being, what home actually means.
So our aim today is basically to unpack the why. Look at what's pulling people back to Zimbabwe and, what the reality is on the ground.
Okay, so let's maybe start with the initial move to the UK. The video mentions that for many, especially back in the early 2000s, it was exciting. A new place, systems that seemed to work well, lots of energy for work.
Right, that classic immigrant drive, building a new life. But then the video suggests something shifts, often around the time people hit their 40s.
Yeah, exactly. They start thinking longer term, retirement comes onto the horizon. And suddenly, the quality of life equation in the UK looks a bit different.
And a big part of that is the cost of living, right? The bills, the mortgage.
That seems to be a huge factor, that constant financial pressure. The video really contrasts this with the feeling of returning to Zimbabwe. It talks about a sense of freedom, less stress, fewer daily worries.
Freedom from bills. I can see the appeal.
Well, yeah. The speaker specifically mentions not having those constant bills and mortgage letters hanging over you. It suggests that takes a real psychological weight off.
But it's not just about money, is it? The video talks about other things, too.
Oh, definitely. Simple pleasures, things maybe you took for granted before, like readily available fresh fruit, just hearing and speaking your own language everywhere.
Things that connect you back to a place on a different level.
Exactly. And community, too. That comes through really strongly. There's an example in the video about support received after a family tragedy. It contrasts that deep community support with perhaps a feeling of potential isolation in the UK sometimes, even if you have friends. Life is just so busy.
Right, the pace of life is different. And the video links that slower pace in Zimbabwe to, better health, less stress-related illness.
It does, yeah. It suggests that the reduced daily stress has a positive physical impact. There's even an observation about farm workers seeming healthier, possibly due to, eating more natural, unprocessed food.
Interesting. So it's painting quite an appealing picture.
It is, but the video acknowledges the naysayers too, people who focus only on Zimbabwe's problems. But it argues back, saying there's a certain peace of mind you get living there long term, something you don't necessarily grasp from short visits.
Peace of mind. That's quite intangible, isn't it? But powerful.
Very. It suggests maybe a different set of values contributing to well-being, beyond just the economic side.
Which, speaking of economics, we should probably get into that. It can't all be sunshine and mangoes.
No, definitely not. The video, referencing property websites like property.co.zw, is quite upfront about costs. Property in the desirable areas, we're talking big money. like 450,000 US dollars, even $1.7 million.
Wow. And that's usually cash, right? No mortgages easily available.
Pretty much. Cash purchases are the norm, which is a huge hurdle. Even more affordable places, say in parts of Harare West, for maybe $125,000 or $72,000, still generally need cash up front.
So you'd need significant savings or assets to sell back in the UK. That's tough.
Very tough. And cars aren't cheap either, apparently. The video gives examples, like a 2020 Volvo for $48,000, or even older little Honda Fits going for around $6,000.
So finding something decent under, say, $8,000 is hard.
That's what's suggested, yeah.
Okay, so things are expensive, but the video argues this doesn't mean the economy is totally dead.
Right. The argument is that supply and demand are at play. People are buying these things,
Right.
which implies there's economic activity, there's money circulating, even with the challenges.
And remittances play a big role there, I guess.
A massive role. The figure mentioned is around $3 billion flowing in annually. That's obviously huge for supporting families and local businesses, buying food, services.
And there's actual development happening too. It's not static.
No, the video points to new areas being developed. Places like Arlington, Sunway City, Medokoro, Aspendale. It suggests there's modernization and expansion happening.
What about tech? Connectivity, that's crucial these days.
Yeah, that's improving too. Fiber internet is available from providers like Liquid Telecom, Talone, and Starlink is apparently reaching even into rural areas now.
Starlink, wow. And solar power too.
Exactly. Affordable off-grid solar systems are becoming more common, changing things for people not on the main grid.
Okay, so there are positives, development, but also significant financial challenges, especially with property and cars.
Yes, and the video is clear about the hurdles. For people with families, mortgages still running in the West, a full return is often really difficult financially.
And infrastructure limitations, like emergency services maybe not being as quick.
That's mentioned too, yeah. Practical differences compared to, say, the UK system. It's a trade-off.
But there's an interesting idea floated towards the end, isn't there, about collective investment?
Yes. The idea of diasporans pooling resources, buying land together, building homes for retirement, creating their own communities, maybe even generating some rental income.
That sounds like a really creative way to tackle the individual cost barrier.
It does. It taps into that desire for community and finding a way back, perhaps on slightly different terms. And it fits with this broader encouragement of investment back into Zimbabwe.
So wrapping this up, it seems the motivations for returning are really layered. It's partly practical, escaping UK costs perhaps, but largely emotional and psychological too.
I think so. That desire for peace of mind, for community connection, a less stressful pace of life, a connection to home, really. These seem to be incredibly powerful drivers.
Powerful enough for some people to navigate those economic realities we talked about.
Exactly. Which kind of leaves us, and you listening, with a big question, doesn't it? What actually defines quality of life for you? How much is economic? How much is something else?
Yeah, how do different places, different environments shape what we prioritize, especially as we look ahead?
It definitely shows that well-being isn't just about GDP figures. Those intangibles, community, peace, connection, they carry immense weight.
So it's a really thought-provoking glimpse into why people make these huge life changes. Definitely gives you something to chew on about your own ideas of home, community, and what a fulfilling life looks like.